This segment of Labatt Buffalo Main Event is brought to you by
Kaz Electronics, your gadget source with referral rewards.
We're back on Labatt Buffalo Main Event. Brad Ryder along with Bob Gaughan. Normally we have a guest during this segment of the show, but this is the special Hey, the Sabres Didn't Make the Playoffs edition of Labatt Buffalo Main Event. So no guest, just me and Bob, in particular because when the Sabres miss the playoffs, I'm quite certain Bob's going to point the finger at someone. Who is it, Bob?
Well, I'll tell you who it's not. It's not Darcy Regier, and it's not Lindy Ruff. I think that both of those gentlemen are still very good at their job. I think you have to go higher than that. I think there's a pervasiveness of cheapness around this organization, and I think that I question whether this team's number one goal is to win the Stanley Cup. I think it might be make money is the number one goal. And then, hey, if we can win the Stanley Cup too. And why do I say that? It's not just the losing of players. I mean, people are going to point to, oh, it's just Drury. You're saying that because they lost Drury and Barrett. No, it's the Newman contract. It's the Vanek press conference where instead of, hey, we got Vanek, it's those shysters down in Edmonton made us pay. You know, it's the splitting of the AHL franchise. It's the scouting service where, you know, it's all done by videotape now. So it's not just one incident. You add all of those incidents together, and I say Larry Quinn or Tom Golisano right to the top. Do you really want to win the Stanley Cup here? Or do you want to make money? And hey, if by chance we win the Stanley Cup, and then that's good too. I really question the number one goal of this organization.
Well, the good news, the splitting of the AHL franchise, they're cleaning up.
Yes.
And that's a big part of, they're getting out of that. So I wouldn't lump that in. But the rest of what you said, I think there's some validity. I question whether Tom Golisano wants to own this team long term. He's been asked that, and he can't say beyond the shadow of a doubt, yes, I'm going to own this franchise in 5 years. It wouldn't shock me if a couple years down the road the thing is up for sale. Now, you know, might that be another group of which Larry Quinn is still a part? That's a possibility. Mike Golisano become a minority owner. I think business is first with the organization, but I don't think that necessarily means it comes at the expense of a chance to win. So I think what you've got is an owner and a managing partner who are implementing this policy of fiscal responsibility under which Darcy Regier, I mean, he's been doing this for years.
Yeah.
He can thrive under that. Lindy Ruff thrives with whatever he's given. He takes a look at his team and says, all right, we're going to play it this way, we're going to play it that way, based on our personnel and what gives us the best chance to win. So I wouldn't even say there's a question, is Tom Golisano's goal to win the Stanley Cup? Well, yeah, you can ask the question. I'll tell you no.
Yeah.
His goal is to have a viable franchise, and by viable, I mean as profitable as possible. But I don't think that precludes you from having success.
Well, then that leads to, you know, the offseason and signing Miller and signing Pominville. Well, first and foremost, you know, Pominville would be a number one for me out of those two. Miller is someone that I would have a serious question. Is he going to ask for Lundqvist money? If he does, I wouldn't pay him. You look at this team this year, they scored a heck of a lot of goals. Mm-hmm. And his goals against and his save percentage was not in top 5, not top 10, but I feel that somebody might give him that type of money. And if someone does, I think you got to have a plan that says, you know, we're either going to trade him right now or, you know, just offer him a reasonable contract. And if he doesn't want it, I don't mind letting Ryan Miller, he's the one guy, I really don't mind letting him go. I think he might ask for more money, and I think someone might give him more money than he actually deserves.
Well, that's the beauty of having this conversation in April of 2008 when the guy's contract is up in April of 2009. You can prevent a guy from hitting free agency by saying, wouldn't it be a whole lot easier for you and your lifestyle to just stick around? We've got this deal. We think you're a good hockey player. This is what we expect out of you, and this is what we'll pay you for it. Are you willing to accept? That's the beauty of negotiating now. That's why you don't sit around and wait until December to try to make some sort of a deal, because at that point, those dollar signs start creeping in. You start thinking about those teams that are going to give you twice as much money or 1.5 times as much money as the Sabres are willing to offer you. So I think you can get rid of that whole thing by sitting down today. And good news, they're available. Right now, Ryan Miller is available for conversation. His agent, I'm not sure what his status is, but the Sabres organization is available to get things done right now. They don't have that pesky extra 2 months of hockey to get in the way of contract negotiations this year. That could help.
I just want to go on record saying if he asks for Lundqvist money, I don't want to give him Lundqvist. I don't think he deserves it. I just don't think he's as good. And I think the other thing is people are talking about, subtracting from this. Who do you want to let go? Well, let's let Max go, and let's let Kodalik go. And I'm the opposite. I think, forget about subtracting. You need additions, right? Defensively, I'm pretty happy, especially with the way Sekera and Weber came up, and then you throw in, I know there was a down year for Talinder and Lidman, but I think that they could bounce back. Spacek, and then whether Newman comes back or not. I think defensively,
still there,
you could be okay. But offensively, I think you need to add a playmaker, and whether that be a center or a goal scorer, I think you need to add something offensively without subtracting, a lot from your organization.
Well, you want to talk about a playmaker. I either need Tim Connolly or I need somebody in that spot, because I'm not going into this year I don't want to go into this year crossing my fingers, hoping this is the time that Connolly stays healthy. That contract is 2 years into a 3-year deal and looking like a colossal mistake. It wasn't a huge risk as far as the money. They went $3 million a year-ish, but they've gotten about half a season out of Tim Connolly, and that half a season, it wasn't even the full-on guy because he was banged up the whole time. So that's where I see a gap. And no, I'm not subtracting out of this. I think Dmitry Kalinин's going to walk away. That's okay. But there's no one that I'm looking at saying this guy's got to go. There are also very few players on this team where I'm saying this guy has to stay. If a trade offer comes up, most guys are available. At least I'll have the conversation.
Will somebody want to come here? That's my, that goes back to my original theme. But that's my original theme of the cheapness.
Go.
Well, I know, but the cheapness in terms of free agency. That was more. Well, how many people want to come here in free agency and come into this organization? And that's why I think. Number one, I think Golisano and Quinn better step up. This is a huge offseason for Golisano.
He's Bob Gahn. I'm Brad Ryder. We're back in just a moment to close things out with a commentary on the Bat Buffalo main event.